With the 61st pick in the NFL draft, the San Francisco 49ers selected someone who I had 27th on my big board. I have a first round grade on Drake Jackson for several reasons. I think he has a really good speed rush, which, listen, sometimes it worries me, guys who rely on speed, because NFL tackles handle that better, but I think it's a good enough move that it will work in the NFL. Another thing that really fascinates me about Jackson is he was only 20 years old the last we've seen of him. He turned 21 about a month ago. So he's a young prospect, and that means that he'll only get better, and there's even more room for growth. And he had production at the college level, and that's always something you want to look at with pass rushers. Did you have a high pass rush win rate? Did you win consistently? He checks off all of those boxes. So that's why I like him and think he could be a potential steal here with the San Francisco 49ers. So let's get into the film and talk about what exactly it is that I like about him so much. So first, something like this. So you see that is where he is on the field. He will be going up one-on-one against a left tackle, and this is just a very fascinating play. It kind of, I think goes to show what he can do. I already talked about a speed rush. We'll get more into that in a second. But so his speed rush definitely helps set things up. Look at how right when this play begins, you see how the tackle is going to do his best to make sure he gets over. And this is something where, again, there is a bit of a concern where NFL tackles won't be as, it won't be as slow as college tackles, of course. And so the obvious concern with someone like Jackson is, okay, maybe if you're losing what he's best at, maybe that'll, create some issues. And that is why I have him a little bit lower than some of these top edge rushers. But still, watch what he can do and watch how he can play off of this. Watch him pull off a spin move right here. I love a good spin move. He is going to get to the quarterback for a sack. So, hey, if you can get a good spin move going, people who have played offensive line will tell you that's one of the most unblockable moves that there is, if you can get a spin move. So the fact that he can do that is cool, but again, it's set up due to his speed rush. Something like this is a great example of what he really did more consistently, which is, again, use his explosiveness off the line and use his hands. His hands that's such an undervalued trait when evaluating prospects, because everyone, every offensive line coach in the NFL will tell you, oh, I can absolutely teach a guy how to use their hands properly, which, again, if you're an offensive line coach in the NFL, you probably can do a pretty decent job at it. But there's a reason why at this point, some guys can do that stuff and some guys can't, because it is a skill. It's a technique. Like, anyone can teach you how to swing a baseball bat, but there's no denying some people do it better than others. Look at how right when this play begins, again, look at how he's going to use that swipe move to get the left arm out of position. So the tackle's trying to get his left arm and put it on Jackson's sort of right side of his body, and when Jackson immediately knocks it away, this is what's going to allow him to get through. As you see, watch him be able to get to the quarterback, get the sack right there. That's really kind of how he makes his money, is he does a very good job with his hands, I think, and that's something you want to see. Someone who can use their hands and knows how to just get wins, understands the technical aspect of football. That's going to get you a lot of pressures at the NFL level. Like something like this is another example where, again, when you can win on the outside, that sets up inside moves, and especially with Jackson's hands, that's how he can do it. Because watch what's going to happen. Look at how he's going to do this inside rip move, where so you see how he gets his right arm and gets it sort of underneath the right arm of the tackle that he's going up against. What this allows him to do is kind of obvious, right? The tackle can't really get his right hand where he wants to, and for Jackson, you can lift it up, and then you can power through because the hand just isn't on the side of the body that you want it to be on. You can't get the correct hand placement. So him being quick with his hands at the line allows him to then set up other stuff. As you see, watch him get that inside pressure, and he is going to get to the quarterback for what eventually got ruled, at least on the field, a safety. So there you go. Very good play by Drake Jackson. Again, using his hands to find ways to get pressure. Finally, something like this. So let's just talk about some physical tools for a second, because I do think physical tools are probably a bit overvalued at the pass rush position. Of course, it matters, but I just mean, I think teams sometimes will pick a worse player because they have better physical traits, when at the end of the day, you should just pick the best player. Of course, that logic changes depending on position. For quarterbacks, maybe take the guy who has the best physical traits, because the goal is to get a superstar quarterback. But for an edge rusher, typically the guys who end up being superstars are the guys who just found ways to win in college. That's typically how that works. Anyways, this is going to be more of a thing about his physical traits, because that still matters, of course, and it's going to be a tight end who's blocking him, so you expect him to win this matchup. And look, as you see, so this is the situation. It's going to be a run to the top of the screen, and you see that there's a player one-on-one blocking Drake Jackson, but just watch how Jackson's going to get over there. Look at him just power through, and that's just him using his power, because again, he's a little bit smaller at 6'3", which it feels weird to say 6'3" is smaller, but it's on the shorter side for edge rushers, but he's he's still really big. He's 250 pounds, so he has a low center of gravity and can use that strength that he has, and it's still young strength. Again, this is a 20-year-old doing this stuff, so he only has room to grow from there. I think some people think, well, if he's a polished edge rusher in terms of his hands, this is about as good as he'll be. Well, A, that's pretty good, and B, I don't totally agree, because he can still grow into his body a little bit, which is what happens with younger guys. So that's why I just like him so much. Quite frankly, the biggest concern I have with Drake Jackson is the fact that no one else seems to be as high on him as I am. He went late second round when I had a late first round grade on him. And traditionally, when that happens, just with anybody, when you're way higher on a prospect than the general public is, typically that prospect ends up not being as good. That's just, what it says. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't have that opinion just because the rest of the NFL feels that way, because it does happen where there's, certainly I can think about myself. I was a big Max Crosby fan coming out of college. I think that ended up working out as a 4th round pick who ended up, being really, a star. I found him misses as well. We can go back. I'm not sure if I have more right or wrong, but the reality is most people have more wrong than right when they step out on a limb. So that, always is a bit concerning. But again, going back to simply just what I saw about him on film, very good. And again, the advanced statistics do back up that he should be a very good player. I think his moves will work at the NFL level. The only thing you could argue is it possible that, with he needs to develop more moves? I think that's a fair thing to talk about, but I think he can. And again, this is kind of one of the things that I always bring up is when the moves you're doing work at the college level, then you should keep doing them. You shouldn't start doing different moves just to showcase your talents to the NFL level. You should keep doing those moves because they're working. Your job at that point is to be a good college player, which he was. So I think at the NFL level, this is something where, yes, maybe some of these moves won't work, but then he can start trying other moves. That's, you see that with receivers all the time, like Jamar Chase, for example, actually Justin Jefferson's probably a better example of he didn't have to do too much moves because he would just win easily. And so people were like, okay, well, will that work at the NFL level? And then at the NFL level, he's like, oh, well, I just got to, start being a great route runner. And then he's like an amazing route runner. So then, he was able to start changing his game once he got to the NFL level, because Jamar Chase still just runs by everyone. But, Jefferson wins in different ways and can still run by everyone because he's awesome too. And who knows, maybe Drake Jackson will be awesome as well. We'll have to see. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Drake Jackson as an edge rusher. San Francisco, I think, will have a good player. And, with a good defensive line that they have, I think getting a guy who just can come in and, get some one-on-one matchups and be able to win those one-on-one matchups could be something that could be very good. But that's what I think. What do you guys think about Drake Jackson? Let me know in the comments below. What are your thoughts about him and what he will bring to San Francisco? Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.